Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those within the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to Insights. I'm Sherry Stewart. We hope all the dads and surrogate dads out there are enjoying this Father's Day. And with it being your special day, we think this is the perfect time to talk about men's health. We'll start out with some important stats that you need to know. Men have shorter life expectancies than women. Men die on average 5 years earlier than women and for largely preventable reasons. Heart disease is the leading cause of death. Men account for 3 out of 4 suicides, and suicide is the second leading cause of death among U.S. men aged 10 to 34. WBKB's Kent Davis starts us out with a look at mental health and the stigma associated when seeking treatment.
The American Psychological Association says 9% of men experience feelings of anxiety or depression on a daily basis. However, only 41% of them take medication or go to therapy. And depression isn't the only mental health struggle men can face. Whether it's trauma, issues of self-worth, or mental illness, men in the U.S. tend to avoid professional help. Dr. Sabrina Romanoff, a Harvard-trained psychologist, says this tendency likely comes from society's expectations for men to be strong and independent.
Conformity to dominant masculine gender norms, like the idea that boys don't cry, leads to self-stigmatization in men who feel that they should be able to cope without professional help.
Romanoff says this outlook drives some men to self-medicate through alcohol or prescription drug abuse. These coping mechanisms then develop into their own issues. Additionally, Romanoff says that while women and men think about suicide at similar rates, men are more likely to both attempt and succeed.
Because they use more lethal means, whereas women are more likely to attempt through like pills or cutting, which is less lethal. Like more men die by firearms than women.
Romanoff says you shouldn't be afraid of seeking help if you're under major emotional stress. She says there are a few possible signs you're approaching a crisis point.
When you find yourself very isolated and you find yourself completely kind of disconnected in times of severe distress, or you find that your substance use, it's become unmanageable, and you're not able to obtain support from friends or family, and you find that you're kind of like an island, kind of on your own.
If you feel burdened with painful feelings or mental illness, finding a therapist or local support group is a big step towards healing. Romanoff says studies have shown therapy reduces morbidity and mortality rates. She says it also helps your performance at work and helps you build skills for managing your feelings on your own. The reason I'm doing this story is because I've struggled with mental health myself. I developed a real sense of self-loathing in middle school. I hated being on the autism spectrum, hated being who I was. I put these stupid high academic standards on myself to try and prove that I was one of the good ones. That wasn't productive, and I carried that mindset with me all the way to college. It wasn't until fall of 2019 that I realized this habit I had of making self-deprecating jokes, of emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically beating up on myself, wasn't helping me be more productive. It wasn't getting me anywhere that I wanted to be in life. So I decided to seek out a therapist, and since I've started therapy, I've made huge leaps and bounds in my well-being. I actually like who I am now, and I'm unabashedly proud of the things that I like. And frankly, I don't think I would have the self-confidence that I have now, the self-confidence that let me join WBKB without it. So if you're out there and you're struggling, please know that you're not alone in your struggles, and therapy really can help. It won't make you any less of a man, and it won't make you any less independent. Thank you for watching Insights. Back to you, Sherry.
Thanks for that, Kent. Now, while mental health is important, so is your physical health. Tyler Cruz takes a look at why it's so important to stay active.
Thanks, Sherry, and happy Father's Day, everyone. I'm here at Bay Athletic Club talking with Amanda Freeland about men's health. Amanda, how's it going today?
Great, how are you?
Good. So we want to start with, what are some risk factors that men might look for as they get older?
Yeah, so men tend to be at a super high risk for heart disease. And some of the factors with that when you're looking at your overall health, Tyler, are stress, how you're sleeping, the quality of your nutrition, of course, and then your overall movement.
So what should men start looking for in those areas before they start getting concerned about their health?
One of the most important things that men can do is start to be more mindful. It can be hard sometimes to pay attention with everything else going on in life to your health, but it is important. So most of the time when I meet with someone new and I say, how much water are you drinking? A lot of people will say, oh, I don't actually know, or I'm not sure, but probably not enough. So being mindful about something as simple as water can make a huge improvement in your overall health, but also being mindful about how much sleep you're getting, about what you're eating and the quality of the food you're eating throughout the day, and how much you're moving your body. So it's recommended that men move at least, so moderate activity, at least 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day. Most men really aren't getting in that much movement.
How important is cardio and working out that heart muscle?
Super important, Tyler. So that 5 days a week at 30 minutes of moderate activity, that's really fantastic. If you can get 1 to 2 of those days in there where you're getting a little bit more of that cardio, where you're really getting that heart rate up, you're really working those lungs, that's going to be even more beneficial. We want to keep our heart strong and healthy. Working out adds years to our life, and with men being at a higher risk of heart disease, taking care of your heart is even more important if you want to add those years to your life and live a long, happy and healthy life.
Are there any specific stretches that you might recommend, maybe like right when you wake up or after you eat, to promote healthy digestion or just being healthy throughout the day to start the day?
Yeah, well, do you want me to show you?
Yeah.
I'll have you do some.
Awesome.
So if you want to go ahead and take a nice deep breath up, really stretch those arms above your head and let it down. And then you're going to take another nice deep breath up. Doesn't that feel good?
It
Look
actually
at
does.
these. And then stretch one arm over your head and go ahead and go the other way. Stretch your other arm over your head. Good. Bring your hands back to your hips. Now lift one knee and open those hips. So this is a little bit of balance work, and then you're going to switch legs. But it also just gets your hips moving for the morning, wakes your body up a little bit more. Good. See, that's a little tougher than you think, right? And then, Tyler, one other little balance move that you can do to get yourself waking up is to just grab a knee and pull it to your chest. Now,
Don't hold it.
yeah, just pull it a little bit. Good. You could also hold a chair or the wall to do that one if you feel a little bit unsteady. Okay. And then you could take your feet nice and wide, take a nice deep breath up, and then come all the way to the floor, reaching down, and then slowly roll it up and roll your shoulders at the top. Good, feels nice, right? Waking up and moving your body a little bit is great. Drinking water first thing in the morning, even if you're a coffee drinker, that doesn't mean you can't have your coffee, but studies have really shown that people who wake up and start their day with around 16 ounces of water, it gets your metabolism working and it gets your digestive system working, and then have your coffee after that if you're a coffee drinker. So that's a great tip right away to help with your health. People who eat breakfast do tend to have more healthy blood sugar levels and healthier weights. So eating a healthy breakfast, that could consist of a low-fat yogurt with berries and cinnamon. That could be a couple of pieces of whole wheat toast with a couple of eggs. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? So a healthy, simple breakfast to start the day. And then throughout the day, just making sure that you're paying attention, like we said before, to your nutrition and moving your body and managing your stress. Those are really, I mean, if you do that, you're going to be feeling better really fast.
Awesome. Happy Father's Day, everybody. For more healthy tips, you can visit the Bay Athletic Club. Thank you for tuning in to Insights, and we'll be back after this.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back to Insights. We're spending today focused on men's health and all the related topics, and we cannot have that conversation without talking about the food that we eat. So I'm happy to introduce Shanti Appello. She is a health and wellness spokesperson for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Thank you, Shanti, for spending time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Sherry.
So we know that we love to grill in Michigan, especially this time of year. And I love a grilled steak, and I know so many other people do, and pretty much everyone loves to grill. But you're talking about, Ashanti, you have some tips on healthy fruit that we can grill. So how do we do that?
Yeah, well, there's some magic that happens when fruit hits the grill. You know, those flames really bring that caramelization because fruit has that natural sweetness to them. So the flame plus the natural sweetness produces that nice caramelization. So there are plenty of fruits that you can grill. I have some peaches, pineapple, watermelon, and then some bananas in front of me here.
Now, watermelon, okay, peaches. Now, like I said, many people love a grilled steak, but when you start talking about grilled watermelon and peaches, I think you kind of raise some eyebrows. So help us out here. How do we do that?
Yeah, so these peaches have some beautiful grill marks on them. I did a couple minutes on each side. And what I'm gonna do is top them off with a little bit of goat cheese. It tastes so nice and creamy. Okay. I'm also gonna top it with a little bit of balsamic reduction. You could do a regular balsamic reduction, or you could do one that has a little bit of spice. And then you can top it off with a little bit of basil, and it's delicious. It kind of feels a little fancy, but it's simple ingredients.
So these have to be, I guess, to get the optimum value out of it, we're looking at seasonal fruits. Is that right?
Absolutely. What's great about peaches is that they're going to taste so much sweeter whenever we do get them in season. That's kind of why when you go to a restaurant, you might see a seasonal menu. It's because it's going to taste so much better because that fruit had the opportunity to ripen on the vine or in the field.
Okay. And so I know I'm making a joke about the meats that we do love to grill, but it's a reality. Many people do like to spend summers on the grill. But how should we really consider reducing meat intake? Would you recommend that? Or how do you recommend that we stay healthy this summer, including more fruit in our diets?
Yeah, so meats are perfectly okay to have once in a while. But what can happen when we grill meats is that these harmful compounds that are potentially carcinogenic can form. So we just want to limit it to maybe once or twice a week or less if we can. Salmon and chicken are going to form less of those compounds, and they're also going to have less saturated fat. So those are great meats to focus on. You could also grill tofu, which I have here in front of me. You just press kind of firm or extra firm tofu under something heavy in a towel, and then you can marinate it for up to 24 hours. And grilling it just gets really nice flavors and that really nice sear too.
Okay, so these things don't take a whole lot of time to prepare, apparently.
Especially these grilled fruit. I also have bananas. It's a very inexpensive fruit that you can get really at any grocery store. They're grilled on each side. They have some beautiful grill marks. I have some Greek yogurt, which is a really healthy source of protein. But also adds that creaminess to it. You could do ice cream for a special occasion. This is unsweetened Greek yogurt, so I also have a little bit of honey just to kind of drizzle over it. And then finally with this one, nothing goes better together than bananas and chocolate chips. So just a few little mini chocolate chips to top that dessert off, and it is so good. And perfect for Father's Day too.
Yeah, that actually really looks really good there. So when it comes to perhaps storing fruit, so I know sometimes we have a problem, we don't always, we purchase the fruit and then it goes bad. Any tips on making sure that, you know, what we do purchase, you know, stays with us so that we can actually eat it before it goes bad?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So there are certain fruits and vegetables that produce excess ethylene gas. And ethylene gas basically just makes your food ripen. So if we store foods that are high in these gases, so apples, bananas, potatoes, with other fruit, they can actually speed up the ripening process of the other fruit. And so we want to keep apples, bananas, and those kind of fruits stored away. Another thing with produce, you know, grilling, making marinades tastes great with fresh herbs. Fresh herbs are in season 2 right now. But when we store them, we want to think about storing them in a dry environment. So we want to wrap them up in a paper towel, let all that kind of moisture get absorbed, and then store it in a Ziploc bag. And that's a great way to just get the most bang for your buck.
And it sounds like this is the perfect opportunity to spend some time at our farmers markets, our local farmers market. That's where you really get some great fruit.
Absolutely. We have over 300 farmers markets here in Michigan, all of them which make fruits and vegetables very affordable with all the programs that are available for WIC participants and seniors. and for bridge card users. And then, of course, in the process, we're supporting our local farmers, stimulating our local economy and eating in season.
Okay. And lastly, before we let you go, any great recipes that you got? I love what you have sitting there. I actually think I might try that grilled banana concoction there. Anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. On ahealthiermichigan.org, we have a ton of recipes, including all of these that you can use for Father's Day. I also have something on the ABCs of marinades, where you can learn exactly how just to get the best flavors and the best marinade for whether you're cooking chicken or fruit or tofu in this case.
Wonderful. Now, is that on the website as well?
It is, yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's going to be very helpful for a lot of our master grillers out there. So I know they're going to appreciate this. So Shanti, thank you for spending time with us and telling us a little bit more about healthy grilling. Hadn't really considered grilling bananas, but I tell you, I may just try it.
I'm excited for you. Thanks so much.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back to Insights. I'm pleased to introduce now Mark Hedstrom. He is the Executive Director at Movember. Thank you, Mark, for spending time with us today.
Thank you, Sherry, for having me on.
Well, we are really looking forward to chatting with you. I understand that Movember, that you guys are a leading men's health charity. So tell me a little bit about what you do. Obviously, you're focused on men's health, but tell me some of the really important high point things that you guys are working on right now.
Sure. So most people will know Movember as the charity that is behind the mustache growing in November each year around the globe. We're a foundation that was started in Melbourne, Australia back in 2003, really focused on a couple issues in men's health and the cause areas that we continue to work on today, which is testicular cancer, prostate cancer, and men and boys mental health and suicide prevention. And we operate in over 20 countries around the world since 2003. And in the US, we've actually been in market since 2007. So this is coming up on 14 years for us in the US. And we're really excited about the direction of travel and the conversation that is occurring around mental health, but also mental health for men and boys.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have really been really busy doing a lot of heavy lifting. Certainly, we cannot have this conversation without talking about how the pandemic has impacted the work that you're doing. What have you seen? Have you seen more men reaching out for services? What have you seen in this area?
We absolutely have. And I think one of the things that's important in this conversation is understanding what happened to everyone as we went into lockdown and shut down. And the real challenge that we see that underpins some of these issues is the loss of social connection for men in general. And obviously the pandemic highlighted and exacerbated this issue. But we also found some positive outcomes of that, which is when we surveyed men, we did a survey of about 1,600 men in a number of our markets. What they talked to us about was that 94% of them really wanted to re-engage in their kids, and they felt a better connection with their kids. So as we were moving through the early stages of the pandemic, we stood up a product called Family Man, which is really around positive parenting for men and helping men navigate through conversations with their children from 2 to 8 years old. And how do you engage in difficult topics? How do you work with your kids to navigate through conversation and really demonstrate positive masculinity and positive parenting? So some of the products we brought to market rather quickly as the pandemic was settling in the US and around the world was focusing on things around early parenting for men, and then also re-engaging in that social connection. So making connections and our piece of work around Movember Conversation is how do we have conversations with men and have those in spaces and places that we know men have lost, but also how do we have that conversation online with men?
And question, because traditionally, and we don't want to stereotype, but so often we hear that men don't want to communicate, don't want to really share their feelings. So how difficult is it to have those really important conversations? As you say, your research find that men do want to re-engage.
Well, I think it first starts with just raising awareness, and we do this work in prostate and testicular cancer as well. It's just engaging men and raising their consciousness and awareness around the risks that they face with respect to their health, whether it be physical health or mental health. But then it gets to the stigma around having that conversation. And one thing that we always come back to is men often, when you talk to them, they don't have the vocabulary to talk about some of the issues that are challenging them. But once you break through that and you start providing the vocabulary to help them have those conversations, it becomes a very fruitful conversation in helping direct them. And we deploy a model that we've been working on for a number of years with partners around the world called ALEC, which is a very simple acronym for ask, listen, and I always say listen without judgment, and then encourage action, right? So a lot of times you want to solve that problem in the moment, but it's actually about helping that individual that you're talking to figure out the best way to act on some of the challenges that they have, and then always come back to checking in. So that's a very simple way to engage a man in a conversation. And at the same time, what we're trying to do is to build that confidence in the individual men that are having these conversations and the vocabulary to have those conversations.
So tell me about your program with the Mustache. As you said, many people probably know about that. Tell me how that all works.
Well, it's pretty simple. So we start the 1st of November. We ask men around the world to go clean shaven and then start growing only a mustache. And from someone like myself, the fun side of what we do is I have a fairly awkward mustache about 15 days into the month. It's not a great look. It's not a great look for me, but it's a conversation starter. And so it comes full circle back to that ability to have a conversation about what I'm doing and to engage someone in a conversation about men's health. And we also have a lot of women that join every single year, and we've engaged women in a lot of ways. Everyone has a brother, father, uncle, grandparent in their life that they're focused on and they care about. So, asking women to support the men in their mustache growing, but also to move with the men throughout the month. So we engage women and men in challenging them to move for the 30 days of November, and then also hosting events. And that goes back to that idea of social connection. How do you come back around to spending time with individuals and use that as a way to fundraise and reconnect with some of the friends and loved ones in your life?
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. So, Mark, we're almost out of time here. So let us know how the community can connect with you. Should they go to a website if they want to perhaps maybe launch local events in support of your campaign and to provide more information for men and health issues? How do they connect?
Sure, absolutely. Just go over to Movember.com. That's just November with an M at the front instead of the N. Movember.com. There's a whole bunch of resources about the work that we do in terms of providing impact in the world around prostate, testicular cancer, and then men and boys mental health, but also, how you can get engaged in, donating or fundraising on behalf of the foundation and men's health.
Absolutely. Well, a great conversation to have, certainly, as we're celebrating the men in our lives on Father's Day. So really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Great. Thank you, Sherry, for having me on.
Well, that does it for this week's episode. Thank you again for watching Insights. If you have a question, a comment, or a story idea, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at news@wbkb11.com. I'm Sherry Stewart. Thank you again for watching and have a great week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.